Hello and welcome to the NUTV NFL Draft Recap Show. We're going to have analysis from an excellent panel of NFL analysts from NUTV Sports. So let's get right into it. Cassie Kuchma is going to be starting us off with Hot or Not, looking at the best and worst outfits from the NFL Draft Show. Cassie, take it away.
From Old Spice branded robes and poorly designed graphic tees to surprisingly actual suits, this is Hot or Not NFL Draft Edition, where I, a non-fashionable normal person, judge non-fashionable professional athletes on what they're wearing. With the NFL Draft being virtual this year, the prospects were given strict guidelines to follow on what they could and mostly couldn't wear during the selection process. The most important rule was no third-party logos, with the exception of the NFL partners Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, and New Era. No references to drugs or alcohol, no political statements, and even no references to movies or video games were allowed on the clothing. As expected, some of the prospects completely ignored those rules. Up first, we got the number one overall pick of the draft, Joe Burrow. Joe kept it casual, wearing a 740 graphic long-sleeve tee, 740 representing the area code of his hometown, Athens, Ohio. Burrow also donned some serious blingage, showing off a diamond-encrusted number 9 necklace, which is his number at LSU, which was given to him by Louisiana rapper Boozy Badass. I'm going to call this outfit hot. Next, we have Henry Ruggs, a receiver from Alabama who was selected 12th overall in the draft. Henry was seen wearing an Old Spice bathrobe and was paid by the company to wear this robe to call attention to the company's $320,000 donation to United Way on behalf of all rookies from all 32 NFL teams to kickstart their community efforts. Without a question, this is an easy hot, although it's unclear whether Ruggs will be fined for the breach of these rules because he was wearing a third-party logo. And finally, we have NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, who in the middle of the first round of the draft switches out of his suit jacket and into a sweater. He then refuses to acknowledge this change, which just kind of threw everyone off. The next night, we see him in a similar-looking quarter zip, and then on the last night, we see him in just a plain t-shirt. This weird inconsistency of outfits and the complete unlikableness of Roger Goodell deserves an undoubtable not hot. That's all for me. Back to you, Tom.
All right, thanks, Cassie. That was awesome. We're going to now throw it over to Zach, who's going to be quarterbacking our draft pick analysis. Zach, why don't you take it away?
So going into the draft, there were a bunch of quarterbacks taken off the board. We had Joe Burrow going at number 1 to the Bengals. We had Tua Tagovailoa going at number 5 to the Dolphins. Justin Herbert at 6 to the Chargers, and then some surprises later on. So I want to ask our panel of analysts, what do you think about all the quarterbacks that have been taken and their new teams?
Other than Joe Burrow, people aren't really so sure that we're going to have any superstars coming out of this class of picks. Like number 6, Justin Herbert's not going to be very good for the Chargers. But the Chargers are one of those teams that really needed a quarterback, but I'm kind of not that optimistic as a Chargers fan.
I did not like Justin Herbert going into the draft or like during the draft or even like when they picked him. But looking at like Twitter and looking at like what everyone else is saying, they like him and therefore I like him. Also, he's on my team, so therefore I think he's going to do really well.
Speaking of Justin Herbert, do we know his policy on profanity? Can we expect Justin Herbert to ever say a dirty word, or is the tradition of Chargers quarterbacks speaking entirely in PG language going to continue?
I certainly hope not.
I don't know. Tom, what do you think the over-under is on how many children Justin Herbert has as a member of the Chargers?
If we're doing it relative to how many Phillip Rivers has, I pray for many people's sake that he hits the under and doesn't have 9 children.
I disagree.
You want?
He chose number 10 for his jersey. I think that's how many kids he's going to have.
Why don't we make it a round 53, have a whole football team?
That's true. I mean, we talk about how the Rivers family could field an entire offense because 2 parents, 9 kids. What if the Herberts just develop an entire roster?
So when we move on to some of the other quarterbacks that were taken in the draft, the Green Bay Packers surprised a lot of people when they took Jordan Love in the first round, and that was a pretty controversial pick. I'm just going to throw it to the rest of you guys, see what your thoughts are.
If I may start on this one, the Packers were an NFC championship team last year. Like, they were a game away from the Super Bowl. That was despite having 0 500-yard receivers not named Devontae Adams, a run defense that ranked 24th in DVOA in the league. Like, they had very clear areas of need between their front seven and wide receiver, and they addressed none of those. I don't think they took a wide receiver at all in this draft, despite it being one of the deepest wide receiver drafts ever. I don't see the logic behind it.
It's so confusing because you look at a team like the Saints, who have a 41-year-old quarterback in Drew Brees, who are drafting pieces to protect Drew Brees and try to win as much as they can while they still have him. The Packers definitely have a couple good years of Aaron Rodgers left. And they're drafting Jordan Love. They're trading up. Is he even good?
He's a very, physical toolsy guy.
Right.
So he's basically the kind of guy that a lot of NFL coaches can convince themselves that they can turn into stars.
And we had so many good wide receivers on the board.
A lot of Higgins, teams. Michael Pittman Jr. It wasn't just drafting Jordan Love in round 1. It was in every round failing to draft players that can help them right now when the only window this team has is 2 to 3 years of Aaron Rodgers. Okay, so that wraps up the quarterback drafting segment of this show. And now to wrap up the episode itself, we're just going to go around the room and talk about who had the best draft, who had the worst draft. So I'll open it up to the floor. Who had the best draft this year?
Obviously, the best draft this year went to the Los Angeles Football Chargers, formerly the San Diego Chargers, formerly the Los Angeles Chargers again. The biggest, obviously, they lost Phillip Rivers. I'm devastated personally. But I think we got a great replacement in Justin Herbert. I think that he has the ability to become a franchise quarterback, if not a Super Bowl winning quarterback, if not a Hall of Fame quarterback, if not one of the best quarterbacks of all time. There were no rounds 2 and 3 for the Chargers because we traded up back to the first round to pick Kenneth Murray. He'll be a great addition. The Chargers have had a hole in the linebacker position ever since Sean Merriman left, and I think that this is a really good addition. KJ Hill was an absolute steal this draft. Number 1 receiver coming out of Ohio State, had the most amount of catches at Ohio State ever.
All right, great. Next, we're going to throw it over to Cassie. Who do you think won the draft?
Obviously, the Eagles won because they won everything, including the 2017 Super Bowl, in case you guys forgot. So I think, obviously, the Eagles won the draft. We got Jalen Reagor for our first-round pick. He's fast. He's short. We do really well with shorter guys, so I'm really excited to see, how he plays on the field with Carson. So I think my favorite team, the Eagles, won the draft.
Zach, over to you. Who do you think won the draft?
I think the New York Giants had a really good draft. And as much as I, as a Giants fan, love to make fun of Dave Gettleman, I think he did a really good job this year. So a lot of the things he did, first of all, our first-round pick, Andrew Thomas, bit of a surprise in terms of who the offensive lineman that we took was. A lot of people thought maybe Tristan Wirfs or Mekhi Becton or something like that. But no, we took Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. But he's a very good offensive tackle, and I think he'll very much help our offensive line. And we also did that in the third round as well, selecting another offensive tackle, Matt Pert, not to mention Isaiah McKinney in the second round to really help out our defense. I think he's going to be really good. Dave Gettleman knocked it out of the park this year. The New York Giants will be a contender.
Michael, you're just going to go next. Who do you think won the draft?
Okay, let me just say that the Eagles, Giants, you picked a bunch of chumps, okay? Let's be honest. You picked a bunch of chumps. I'm going to pick the winner of the draft for one reason and one reason only. I really want Sam Darnold to be good. I don't know why, but I really just want Sam Darnold to be a great quarterback. So the Jets are my winner of the draft. They selected Mekhi Becton, and then they selected Denzel Mims. Mekhi Becton is the biggest offensive tackle that I've ever seen, and he is going to make sure that Sam Darnold never gets sacked for the rest of his career. And Denzel Mims is a very good wide receiver. The Jets are focused on one thing, and that's Sam Darnold.
Oh, certainly an interesting take, Michael. I'm going to wrap up the Who Had the Best Draft segment. My pick that actually won the draft is the Arizona Cardinals. Between Isaiah Simmons falling to them at number 8, a guy who can potentially reshape that entire defense, their second-round pick effectively becoming DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be better than any wide receiver that was drafted this year, next year. And then in the third round, they got an offensive tackle out of Houston who was a guy that a lot of people had a first-round grade on. I think they set the table for them to be a contender in the NFC West going forward. And now on the other side, we're going to go around. Who do we think lost the draft?
The loser of the draft is far and away the New England Patriots. Number one reason is I hate them. Bill Belichick might have just gone missing or something. Like, we don't know his whereabouts.
Kind of going off what Michael just said there, I'm going to say it's not the Patriots. When it first cut to Bill Belichick in his drafting room, in Belichick's chair, there was a dog. I cannot say that the loser of the draft was a dog. It goes against everything I know and love. I'm going to choose the Green Bay Packers. Why? Because in the first round, they drafted Jordan Love, who isn't going to be seeing any significant playing time, at least for the next couple of years, while Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. And then what they did in the second round was they drafted a running back, another position where they didn't need any help. With their first two picks picking players who really aren't going to have an immediate impact, I think they have to be in contention for the worst draft of the entire league.
Cassie, over to you. Who do you think had the worst draft yesterday?
The Packers completely blew it. I don't think Love is going to be used that much. And again, it was just like downright disrespect towards Aaron Rodgers. So that's my take on the worst part of the draft.
Tommy, over to you.
I mean,
Who lost?
I'd agree with Cassie and Zach. The Packers, team-wise, has had the worst draft.
And to wrap up who lost the draft, I mean, it's hard not to say the Packers, but in the interest of not repeating Zach and Cassie's answers, I'm going to go with a different NFC North team and say the Chicago Bears. So the Bears were a team that entered this draft with clear needs. I mean, obviously at quarterback, but they also had needs on the offensive line. They had needs at wide receiver. And instead of addressing those, they went tight end in round 2. They went cornerback in round 2. They went edge rusher in round 5. And they did not draft a wide receiver or offensive lineman until the back end of the 5th round. Their first pick of the draft was a tight end, and they already had 9 tight ends on their roster. He is the 10th player at his position. So for that reason, I'm picking the Bears, a team that was like an exciting up-and-coming Super Bowl contender a few years ago that feels like the window might be closing. And that's going to do it for the NUTV Sports NFL Draft Recap Show. I want to thank Cassie, Michael, Tommy, and Zach for giving your time and your takes. And thank everybody for watching. Have a good one.
Sports back.
It's good to have live sporting events on, yeah.
But not really. Semi-sports, quasi-sports
Anything
events.
at this point.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching.